What is up, guys? Welcome back to the Huddle, the number one podcast in flooring, where we're here to help you win and gain forward progress in your career. Or simply put, we're here for you, moving your careers forward. Sorry, I got a little pop up here. My bad, guys. For all of our new viewers, welcome to the team. Happy Thanksgiving and happy birthday to the hostess with the mostest, Mr. Daniel Gonzalez.
My daughter said I'm 100 years old today.
Yeah, well, you'll be that age from here on, it sounds like.
He was
Today's
born in the
sponsors,
1900s.
Divergent and NAFCT. If you need a great adhesive for your flooring projects, or you need those, you got those tough timelines or tough projects, tough substrates, look to Divergent to fill all your adhesive needs. Don't forget the NAFCT when you're looking to get trained and improve your career through quality. I'm talking the best training you can get when it comes to things like flash coving, heat welding, sheet vinyl. They do many other trainings, but they are particularly outstanding at that. I want to welcome today's guest and my podcast co-hosts, Mr. Daniel and Jose Gonzalez, and today's special guest, Scott Humphreys with the WFCA. Welcome, Scott. May have a little delay. Can you hear me, Scott? Okay, so we are a little bit delayed here. I think, let me see if I can fix this thing. Gentlemen, how are you? Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I
Yeah,
can
we
hear
can
you
hear
just
you
fine.
fine.
Okay.
Did Scott's audio go away again?
I think we just got a little delay going. We're going to give Scott a chance to introduce himself in the WFCA right now.
Yeah, it's freezing up pretty bad to me, guys.
We can see you just fine. Can you wing that?
Well, hey, guys. Listen, it's a pleasure to be with you. Happy Thanksgiving.
Can you hear
Let
us
me
at
know when you
all?
want me to start, Paul, because y'all are freezing up bad on me, and I'm wondering if I go. Do you think if I take my picture off that it'll help the signal?
Try that.
I
Yeah,
can
I
do it
think
right
it
here.
might. Let's just see. Okay, let's try it now and see if that's any better.
Can you hear us now?
Yeah,
Can y'all hear
Rollins
me
says
okay?
that. Yep, we
Yeah,
can hear you. Can
Rollins
you hear
says it
us?
looks good. I think you got a delay over there, Scott. Looks like the
Okay.
chat is live and they can hear you. So go ahead and let's introduce yourselves. I'm gonna give you a little bit of a chance to kind of go into the first question so that this delay doesn't impede as much. But I think I wanted to ask you, how does the WFCA, as our topic today, with the WFCA's role in shaping installer success, how does the WFCA's members view their installation professionals? This was a question brought up. Do the retailers view their installers as a necessary evil or valued partners?
Oh, that's a good question. Do you want me to do a brief intro of
Yep.
WFCA first, just so
Yeah,
Yes,
everybody
please.
do an
is okay?
intro.
I'm sorry, Paul, because you broke up pretty bad on me. So if I don't get the question right, I'll re-ask you guys to make sure. So, guys, thank you again for the opportunity to be with you. I admire what you do. I appreciate you being a voice for the industry, and especially for our professional technicians in the industry. It means the world to me that we have a voice like that, because before you, we really didn't. Um, so the WFCA is a unique organization. We're kind of an umbrella organization. Initially, the WFCA's focus was independent flooring retailers. We realized that retailers can't be profitable and exist without a good installation team. And so we acquired CFI, key assets of CFI, many years ago. And so we have CFI, we have FCB2B, the technology component that allows people to communicate business to business. And I think the new term is B2B4C, business to business for consumers. And so we're working a lot on that, what happens with AI. We also have FCITS, is an acquisition we made almost a year ago, and NFIC, which kind of falls a little bit under the umbrella of CFI, natural fibers. Obviously, you guys know that better than me. Listen, I'll admit to you right now, I'll be speaking a somewhat foreign language because even though I have a lot of experience in the industry, my dad owned a carpet mill. I started working in it when I was 7. I do not have installation experience. I sold it. I've worked corporately at Shaw for 25 years, but I have the utmost in respect. And it's one of the reasons I wanted to make sure that we sent a message to the industry by acquiring CFI that installation is not just something we have to do. It's essential for the future of our industry. And I'll tell you quite frankly, I think it's essential for the future of retail. I think the biggest challenge we face is if we can't, I mean, I look right now, and we can talk about this more, but if you look at what's happening with immigration right now, I was talking to a retailer last week who has stores in Charlotte. He said he could only get 10% of his product installed. People weren't showing up because they're afraid of the repercussions of showing up. And, you know, we're in DC all the time fighting that battle, trying to find a way for people that are here just looking for an opportunity to stay here and work, you know, to find a pathway to legalization, whether that's a pathway to citizenship or not. I think a lot of people get hung up on that, but I think, you know, there has to be a penalty for coming over. I get that. I'm all for building the wall, but I say let more people in and then utilize them, train them in a skill that if they choose to go home, you've benefited their country and ours. So anyway, I say all that to say this: if we don't fix installation, ultimately, you force the manufacturer to create products that don't need professional installation, which hurts the installation world, but also hurts retailers. Because if I can get product that doesn't need installation, I don't need a retailer either. I'll just send that product directly to the consumer's home. And so this isn't a small issue. I've had people get onto me before because I called it an installation crisis. Well, listen, if it wasn't before, with what's going on with immigration right now, it certainly is now. And so we've got to find a solution. And part of the solution is people valuing the role that professional technicians play. And we've never been real good in this industry promoting that before. But that's the role I want us to play.
Well, that's one of the most important things that we as the Huddle, as well as our other companies that we all are part of, you know, Daniel and Jose being the owners of Preferred Flooring up in Grand Rapids. I own a flooring company down in Wichita. Also, Go, as it's known currently, Go Carrera, soon to be Trade Tap, and the Verified Trade Index, and these things. They're all aimed at. We always talk about the need for, well, on the immigration issue, we believe like there has to be a smooth, easy path for people who want to come here, contribute to America through their labor, and just provide a better life for themselves. There has to be a smoother path for that. And I agree that a lot of this is going to keep shaking out, where more and more stores are not going to be able to get their flooring installed. And it's not just by illegals, it's by legals who just don't want to risk themselves even. I know people who are here legally that are still fearful because they just are, it's kind of uncharted territory. And I think that's a problem. And then just one more point is on your point about retailers almost going extinct if they don't help in the solution of this, is the increase in online sales. The most recent study says somewhere between 20, and this is kind of a wide margin, so I'm not sure which way to go on it, which side of the scale, but it's somewhere between 27 and 43% increase from last year, over the last 18 months, essentially, in online sales. So this is, they're buying it from an online retailer and just having it shipped to their house, and they're finding a friend or trying to do it themselves. So that kind of speaks to what you were talking about, Scott.
It does. So
It's,
just so you guys,
it's one of those items, sorry to interrupt here, but that's just one of those items that I think with the power of social media and everybody has information at their fingertips, it's not anything that we're going to get rid of. But we as artisans, as installers, as mechanics, we know our worth and our value. We do understand that in order to uphold any of the manufacturer's standards, there's a set of guidelines that are set that must be followed. And who knows what that's going to do to the industry as far as the manufacturers, because they know that when they advertise as DIY, they know that the chances of failure are substantially higher if it's individual purchasing themselves and installing themselves, or with a friend or with the family. I mean, same concept with me doing, a water pump or a thermostat. I'm not a mechanic. I'm just handy, right?
Mm-hmm.
I can't guarantee I know exactly what I'm doing. Do I use a torque wrench? No. But if I want it done like that, it got to go.
Yeah.
Yeah, we think the solution is exactly the opposite. We think that instead of bypassing professional installation, what we ought to be doing is requiring it. We think that manufacturers should be mandating that for their warranty to be valid, that warranty should mandate that you have to be a trained technician installing the product. And when I say things like that, people go, we can't do that. Yeah, you can. It's like Steve Jobs. When Steve Jobs, they said he had this belief, and the belief was that anything was possible. So when he decided to put glass on the outside of the iPod, people told him he was crazy, it'll break. And he said, no, surely there's got to be a glass that won't break. And so he goes up to Corning and finds out they have this thing called Gorilla Glass. And so he goes and just sits. The Corning president doesn't even know who he is. He just sits outside his office and he says, hey, what's the deal? He said, listen, I'm not leaving until I talk to you. He said, you got a product I need. So he goes in, he presents to this guy, and he says, you've got this product that's glass that won't break. And he said, I need it. And he said, yeah, well, that was an experiment we did over in Japan. That's nothing we do on a regular basis. And he said, don't be afraid. You can do it.
You're about to.
Yeah.
And I think that's exactly, and that's what happened. The guy got on the phone. He said, whatever you're running on the line, quit running it, because we're going to start running Gorilla Glass. I think we got to quit telling ourselves what we can't do. The reality is, all you have to do is say, okay, in 2028, we're going to start mandating that our warranty has to be validated by a professional technician installing it. That gives you a few years to ramp people up, to get them trained, to make sure that you have enough technicians out there to do it. And then you do it.
And I think part of the pushback that I've heard over the years is what is that, right? So is it if it's CFI, then you have the union, the US, I forget that acronym, UPAT, or you have another organization saying, no, it should be ours. It should be ours. That's why we created the Verified Trade Index. It's a perfect time for me just to mention that the Hammer rating is been redesigned and is now the Verified Trade Index. That goes live at the first of the year. And so every installer's profile that's in Go Career at the moment will be pulled out of the marketplace and put on the Verified Trade Index. As you can see, that nice trial in that gentleman's hand on that sticker. And that aggregates all your trains. It doesn't matter if you got trained by the manufacturer you got a little certification here, an extra training there. It all accumulates. And now, instead of a 0 to 5 score, it goes rookie, intermediate, experienced, proficient, expert, master, artisan, and elite artisan. So you can fall as an installer anywhere on that spectrum. And then the manufacturers have a perfect third-party, non-affiliated, or not tied to actual training, because we don't actually train anybody. We are just aggregating all the trainings into one place, and you can require that your products are installed by a proficient or above installer on the VTI. And that's a public spot that people can check and make sure that people have that verification. And that is a solution that manufacturers that we've talked to are starting to really open their ears and say, hey, maybe this is something we can do.
Well, they should, Paul. I mean, if you think about it, if you look at what the average manufacturer spends in honoring claims every year, if they would invest the money on the front side into getting people trained, they could offset not only the cost of a claim here, but for years to come. I mean, it's a common sense thing. It's one of the things that frustrates me. Guys know I'm passionate about leadership. I have this statement. I say it's common sense, not common practice. Most of us know the right thing to do, We just put up excuses for why we won't do it. We're stuck in this rut, and we want to pretend to defend our rut. This is where you're supposed to be. There can be a better way. It's okay. And I love what you're doing there, Paul. Obviously, when we acquired CFI, listen, I think Jim and Jane Walker were geniuses. I think they took a risk when no one else was willing to do it. They started something. I don't know if their business acumen was all that. That doesn't matter to me. I appreciate the fact that they put an effort in, and we believe CFI does it right. I think there has to be a standard. I think there's something has to be done to make sure that if someone is identified as a trainer, but here's the other thing. I used to sell for Shaw for years. That warranty can be as big as they want on the back. They can put every organization, or they could do what you just simply said, Paul. You've created an option that makes it simple for them. We got to get in the room and have that conversation and say, come on, guys, let's do it. Let's help you on the front side with claims and help us on the back side by getting people trained so that we have the expertise out there that we need.
Yeah, this reminds me of like when Jose and I were, going to classify our employees as actual employees instead of contractors. And then we started saying the saying that we can't afford. We kept on saying we can't afford to do it, right? And now you have to change your mindset and say we can't afford not to do it if you look at the long term.
Yeah, and the more that the industry has went to subcontractors over the last 30 years, and primarily heavy in subcontracting, that has created the void of training. Back when everybody were hourly employees, and I have W-2 employees, but I also know how hard it is to keep them because probably 5 of our crews are past employees. 5 of our subcontracting crews are past employees. You can't just yank the entrepreneurial spirit out of people.
Never.
No.
If they want to do it, they're going to do it. What we try to do is set them up for the most success when they do make that transition from an hourly W-2 benefited employee over to subcontracting, that when they do that they've had an exit meeting with us so that we can help them understand all the stuff to expect and how to go about it as the best way that we see. And I've been on all the sides. I've been an hourly employee. I've been a subcontractor. I now own and have for the last 25 years a flooring company that employs both. I would love to have nothing but hourly W-2 employee installers. However, the cyclical nature of our business is why the subcontracting kind of came on so hard. And once it did, it took hold and was tough to I wouldn't say defeat, but tough to avoid. And Daniel and Jose do most of their work in-house, and they are a model for how you can do that. You can have a split model like we run. I know plenty that use nothing but subcontractors, but we have to have a way to validate their skill set and know that they're being trained. And that is the key to our industry succeeding, is aligning the installers' intrinsic motivation of making more money and gaining more respect. That's how we are. I want to make money and I wanted to be known as the best. That's how I was when I was an installer.
Dang.
You know what I'm saying?
So, to add to this part of the conversation, years ago when I was still green, which many moons ago,
way back
in the 1900s.
Yeah,
I invented the wheel.
The literature that was on a lot of the commercial work, I didn't do too much residential, but it did say right in the specifications that a certified installer was required for specific materials. And then the literature changed at some point, right? It went from certified to qualified. And now it might say that, but now it just says follow manufacturer recommendations and ASTM standards. And then you have all these contracts and everybody's throwing their portion in there too. You got to follow it, and it's, I don't know who drove that bus, if it was a liability thing, who drove that bus from the manufacturers, or if it was, architect designers saying, hey, we're fast tracking everything. We got to try to cut corners somewhere. So let's.
Brother, it's all the above, and I'll add one to it, and that is that when they put a particular entity, certification down, if that entity is not strong in that area geographically of the United States, then
Yeah.
it becomes very hard for them to stand behind it when they're like, well, NASCT doesn't do training in the upper Northwest or whatever, or CFI doesn't do a lot of training in
But they'll send
Denver or whatever the scenario. So that's why you want to have, and our solution, this is, I very rarely use the Huddle to talk about the VTI and stuff, but it is the way that it doesn't matter. You could be union trained, you can be CFI, you can be any of the unions or different things. And then you have your score is still based on the power of that training and your years of proven experience in the industry. And you mix those two with kind of the timing, because the algorithm loves train, apply, train, apply, train, apply. What it doesn't love is somebody who goes out and gets 10 years experience and then gets a bunch of certifications or something in a year, because the way we learn is by teaching, and then we apply that new knowledge, and teach, and we apply that new knowledge. And that's the best way for us to learn as humans.
So what if there's a way to tie, not even just in flooring, right? Construction period, continued education into economic strength. What if there's a way to tie it like that, so that way legislators can actually listen to it and mandate some of that literature back on, new construction? Because a lot of these builds and everything that go through city engineering or smaller townships, municipalities, and all that are paying for it, they should.
I think that's
have a say in their investment.
That's a great question for Scott, because Scott, you guys go up to DC and lobby for the industry. What I think, just to kind of distill what Jose just said, is that when they do DIY, when there's so much DIY, the government is losing out on taxes and things of that nature. When a professional comes in and does that work, the economic impact of that is greater than a DIYer doing it. Is there any high level stuff that's pushing the agenda at all for the we have licensing for high risk trades like plumbers and electricians. We don't have licensing in flooring necessarily, or if we do, it's very sparse and very distinct locations. But is there anything on a broader scope that's being discussed in that manner?
I think all of it's being talked about, Paul. Just be careful that whenever you ask the government to get involved, they may actually do it. Be careful.
Right.
There are areas where we want them involved, and that's why when the WFCA goes up there, we're very cautious about what we talk about. Right. So we want to tell them where we need them involved, and we also want to tell them where we need them to get out of our business. Now, if you ask them to get involved at the front level, then you've got to be careful, because every time an administration changes, you have an administration that has the possibility of saying there's no such thing as a subcontract employee. Everyone's an employee. And so I think the solution, guys, and I'm talking to the guys that can make it happen, I think we need to solve our own problem. I think we can the government's got all kind of funding that's out there. We can go, and generally what we're doing is we're going up. We took FCEF up with us a few weeks ago, and took Kay Whitener around. She did a phenomenal job talking about the trade schools and how we're getting these programs set up. But what they want to do is give you the funding, and they want you to solve your own problem. One thing we're not going to solve is you're not going to suddenly make licensing the norm.
Yeah, I agree with that.
We can't. I wish we could. Honestly, these things just kind of happened over time, and we accepted them. The fact that we're 85% subcontract labor, it's a nightmare in some scenarios, but it also allows people to be entrepreneurs, as you said, Paul, to be in charge of their own destiny. And so I think what we got to do is look at what we got And then I would tell you one word that I think is going to be the most powerful word, whether you're an installer, a retailer, or a manufacturer in 2026 and beyond. And that word is simplify. If we can find a way to simplify, if we can make it simpler for the government to help us, guess what? We're the ones that are going to want to help. If we can make it simpler for a manufacturer to require a qualified technician to install the product, guess what? The manufacturer will do it. We got to quit thinking about doing it perfectly and think about the way that we can simplify the process to get a little bit. So I'm up in DC. The first time I went up, this was 13 years ago, and I met a Congressman Womack was his name. He is Congressman in Fayetteville, Arkansas. And I have family in Fayetteville, and so we hit it off and talking. And I said, "Hey, you like it up here?" He said, "Well, it's different. It's changed over the years." And I said, "How so?" And he said, "Well, it used to be if you came up here and you got 51% of what you wanted, you felt like you won. But he said, now we got people that don't think they'll get 100%. They won't even show up to vote."
Yeah.
And that's not compromise, and it's not negotiation. And that's why we are where we are in our government. We're the same way in the industry. We like to function within silos until we say we don't want to. And then suddenly everybody to play the game our way. I think we have a lot of the solutions already if we can get the right people in the room and say, guys, let's not leave till we fix it.
Yeah, having a lock-in like that with some industry leaders would be super beneficial, I think, for the industry. Like, hey, till we get one agenda item solved, we're not leaving. Bring in the pizza and the Sprite, because we're not leaving till we get it solved and we all agree on a go forward solution. I wanted to
a 2 or 3 day summit with the key players in that room. And I think that's the way that's one way to handle it.
Yeah. And I think to build on a little bit of what you said, one of the biggest mantras in building software. Now I'm a flooring guy that decided to go out and build a technology company. In doing that, I've learned a lot of things since 2018. And one of the things when you're building a piece of software is, and this is just known in the software industry, and we could benefit ourselves from adopting it. You're always aiming at the MVP, what is the best you can come up with right now, and then you implement and you adjust and implement. Just like I talked about how we learn as humans is how we need to be implementing. Do, learn, and learn. You'll end up at a better place, and our industry that we all love will start to see that action takes is going forward. And there's more faith when you do it that way, as opposed to, planning for 10 or 15 years and then coming out with this solution you think is great. The problem is the marketplace has to tell you what's great. And we've learned a lot in that regard over the last several years, is that, these guys can tell you, Go Carrera went from a mess to a little better. And our new iteration coming up is, and move into TradeTap is a big leap forward. And you get to take those big leaps. And as an industry, we can take some big leaps, because when you accumulate data and knowledge about how best to solve a problem, then you start to move. You're closer to the final solution than you were if you just try to get it perfect from the giddy up. I hope that made sense, but that's what I've learned through building software.
Yeah, well, first thing I'd say, Paul, is if you want to limit your competition, be a flooring guy that decides to go into software. There's not a whole lot of those. There's not a whole lot of those out there, so that's good. You're right. The closer we get to perfection, the more we win, whether we get there or not. We just got to be moving in the right direction. Listen, the world around us is changing. Either we create the change or we're responding to somebody else's change. AI is going to be a big part of what happens going forward. We got to decide, how do we embrace it? How do we use it? How do we make it a tool rather than something that we're responding to? But if we sit back like the flooring industry has done in the past and choose to simply react to what we have to do because the world around us has changed, we're always going to be behind. I'm ready for the flooring industry to step up and lead. I'm ready for us to say this is the way it ought to be done. I'm ready for other industries to knock on our door and say, my gosh, how did you guys do that? Can you work with us? I'm ready for coalitions that are outside the flooring industry with other associations where we lift our voices together and we go to DC and say, fix the damn installation
Yeah.
issue. Fix the immigration issue.
That's you
Like, keep playing the game and do something. And I think I say that, guys, I think it's very doable. I'm a very optimistic person. I get frustrated sometimes because I see people that live in the realm of excuses, and I'm just not wired that way.
Yep.
I'm a fixer and a doer, just like y'all are. And by the way, kudos for what you've already done.
Thank you.
Utmost in respect for you. But here's the sad thing. Even if it's the right thing, that doesn't make it accepted by everybody. You still got to fight for it. You still got to believe it. I mean, Paul, what you put up with over the years with Co Carrera and trying to get buy-in, and you kept going, and that's the reason that you're getting the progress you're getting now. We're going to look one day. I believe we're going to be in heaven, and we're going to look at these things, and we're going to say, "Oh my gosh, we were that close."
Yeah.
We turned back.
I know. I think that all the time. Like, so close. Always so close. We were right there.
Yeah.
It's all right. Pick
Just
up and go again. Go again.
Believe in it. Be committed
Yeah,
to
a
it.
lot of this, anytime you're trying to make big change, no matter what it is, like perseverance, it's like a saying in the software world as you get into, these investment firms and pitching people and doing all this stuff. Like they're literally they want to see how much pain and struggle can you endure, because they know that pain and struggle is the way forward. It's not to be avoided, it's to embrace and like take the knocks and go forward and keep clawing up until you get to the point where you kind of break through a little bit, you have a little bit of daylight, and people start kind of taking notice of what your industry is doing. And to speak to it,
Brother, if we were in church right now, I'd be waving my hanky going, amen. That's good stuff right there. I'm telling you that we're too busy trying to defend the thing that we hate.
Yeah.
Most people are very dissatisfied with where they are. The only thing they hate worse than where they are is changing it. And we got to make change simple. I'm going to do a quick commercial. I'm not even going to show it because I love our connection right now. My book came out about 8 weeks ago. It's called Leadership by the Letter. And it talks about the fact, Paul, really what you just hit on. They looked at people that have been overachievers, the ones who have changed the world. They found out there was one common trait among them.
They don't feel successful.
They all had to overcome something. They all had a major obstacle in their life. Now, here's the difference. Some people get to an obstacle and they see a dead end. They see a roadblock. But great leaders see a speed bump. They don't see that as a stop. They see that as a slowdown. Okay, that didn't work. Let's figure another way to do it. But we're not going to quit because it's the right thing to do. So I finally wrote this book. I hate writing, by the way, but I love having written. It's a lot better to be on the backside of it. But this book came out on Amazon about 8 weeks ago. It's called Leadership by the Letter. And it's a very simple approach to being the type of leader you want to be. It's 52 words, 2 words with each letter of the alphabet. So 26 times 2 is 52, gives you 52 weeks just to focus on being the best leader you can be. By the way, in life, much more than on the job. I hope you're great on the job. That's fantastic. If you're a better parent, a better sibling, a better child, that means a lot more to me than whether you're good on the job.
Well, they're often a mirror of the other. A lot of the really, really high quality guys that I've had the pleasure to deal with over the years are wonderful parents, and they're involved in the community, and they often mirror one another. And so everybody go pick up Scott's book, Leadership by the Letter, on Amazon. I enjoy Scott's weekly tips and leadership
tips.
Yep, and leadership videos. So if you don't get those, also subscribe to the WFCA's email list so that you can get those, because they come in very valuable. And it's funny how you'll just open up a word from another leader in the industry that hit you right where you needed to be hit that day. So
are you going to have an audio book out?
I don't yet, but they've asked me to. Quite frankly, I just hadn't had time. We've had a lot of transition going on at WFCA recently, so that's been the focus. But I will say this. I wrote it the way I'd read it. I think that's the thing I did right. I don't like to read long chapters. If you look around me, if y'all could see around me right now, I have probably 1,000 books in my office. I probably read 25% of most of them.
Yeah.
Because when they get into deep theory, I'm thinking, no, leadership's not that difficult. I don't need your policy or process to do it. I just need to know what's the right thing to do. And I want stories and examples of people that have done it. I want to know about lives that have been changed. And so every chapter is a story or an illustration, and a lot of them gut wrenching that'll kind of tug at you, and you'll go back and you'll go, man, I could do that.
Yeah.
Why am I not doing that? Why am I not paying it forward? And I don't care if it's, and Paul, you're right. But what I find is people that focus on being better on the job don't necessarily take it home. But people that focus on being better at home always take it to the job. And so I know Rollin was on here. I don't know if he still is or not, but I think about Rollin. What a great leader in the flooring industry from an installation standpoint. What a great dad.
Mm-hmm.
Gosh, I can't be around Rollin without him talking about his kids.
Dude, he's a great,
you're right.
person, bro.
Typically, when you find someone who stands out, they got it on both sides. Yeah. And I would just tell you, you'd enjoy the read. I'm not trying to make money off this. I don't. I want something I can leave behind that when I'm gone, people will know what I believed in. That's why I took the time.
Well, we're glad you did. And again, guys, it's called Leadership by the Letter, and you can get it on Amazon. So check that out. And, a lot of when we're talking about organizations like the WFCA, a lot of what the community of installers, what they feel is whether or not they're being heard. And so me and the guys started the Huddle for that reason. We wanted an outlet where we could take in questions and, comments from when we're at shows and stuff. I mean, I can't tell you how many times someone's come up and said, hey, you should do a podcast on this or do it on that topic. But we wanted to give installers a little bit of a voice in the industry so everybody could know what each other is thinking. One of the things that I would love for you to kind of touch on is understanding the installation community, is understanding guys and gals who believe that they're, the good ones believe that their job's valuable, but can sometimes be undervalued by others. Now, part of that's a societal issue. I've told the story on the Huddle, I don't know how many times, but the story of me doing a really complicated VCT project out on middle school. And as I was walking to the bathroom, the teacher telling their students, you better shape up or you're going to end up like those guys out there. And, here I am like putting these circles and waves and all this stuff down this middle school hallway in VCT and, lights at the end. So you had to think about the floor prep and all the geometry that went into to putting those shapes and waves and all this stuff in that product, let alone the hand skill it takes to actually cut that all in and make it look good. And I thought, I probably make more this year than you'll make in the next 5 years, lady.
Exactly. I was going to say, you're a good man if you didn't say that out loud, because that's what
I did not. But it could be partially societal, but a lot of the community feels under, I won't say underrepresented, but underappreciated, because we all say these taglines at like the conventions and there's not enough installers to hear it. So I'd love it to come out here so they can hear it again. But we say at convention, all this flooring has zero value until it's properly installed on your project, in your home, or what have you. That seems to be part of the WFCA DNA. Can you explore that a little bit? Is that true? Am I making a good assumption, or how do you guys feel about that?
It's a great assumption, Paul. So my background's kind of unique. I studied to be a minister for a couple of years before coming into the flooring industry. I grown up in the industry. I always knew I could go back to that. I was never called into ministry. I just did it. But I wanted to find a place that I could give back, a place that I could make an impact. I'm a vocal performance major, by the way. My major is in vocal performance. So singing is what I did. I look at everything for its art value. And when I look at installation, I see it like a blank canvas that's waiting to be painted on. I'm telling you, man, you can make such a difference in a room by the quality of the installation and the product that's selected for that install. And it almost gives me chills thinking about it. I love, and when an installer and a professional technician, when they understand the power they have to bring a room to life, they don't have to go to work. They get to go to work. They're making a difference. And I believe we've done a terrible job in this industry of underselling the value of the artist who paints on the canvas. I believe it's one of the things that we try to do. Now, we're in an awkward place. I want to kind of address the elephant in the room. I think a lot of people know that we sold the show out in Las Vegas, and they say, well, you got money. Why don't you put more money in? We could solve the problem. You know what? I grew up in a 10-foot wide trailer. I'm the third cousin of Hubert Humphrey, who was the vice president of the United States. I study politics like I study people. I can throw money at a lot of things. I just don't see it fixing it.
Yeah.
Money itself is not the solution. What we want and what we try to do is to be a sounding board for people to come together that want to make it right, that want to take this and elevate the trade and help people understand the value of it. I think most people that install product are underpaid. I believe that. I think they're undervalued. And I think you're going to begin to see more of that now as we have this tightening of how many installers we have out there to produce, right? So now you've got fewer people doing it. You got fewer showing up. And I think you're going to see people going, okay, we got to have it in. Now, the advantage right now is construction's having the same problem that flooring is. And so the construction's not ready for the flooring to be installed. So, because people are not showing up in this construction world at all. But that doesn't devalue the trade. And by the way, if you are a professional installer and you don't value the trade, you're part of the problem.
Mm-hmm.
If you simply work every day and get as much in as you can, but you're not worried about the quality of it, you're not part of the solution. You're part of the problem. If we want to elevate how people treat you and how they pay you, then we've got to have the people that are doing it believing that they're the best of the best.
Yeah, that's that money thing that you said too. Like,
I probably rambled on that, Paul, but yes, am I passionate about that? Yes. When we acquired CFI, that wasn't a random decision where we said, hey, let's acquire somebody. We researched. I met with Jim and Jane multiple times. I met with Robert Varden. We believed in the vision of CFI. It was never a decision we made to make money. In fact, when we voted on it, I told them, if you're voting for us to acquire them to make money, don't vote. All I want is for them to be able to break even. Because I think if people don't put something in, they don't have value to it. But I'm going to tell you, there's a lot to be said for valuing what you already have. And I think that's where a lot of installers are missing it. We can look at the retailer and say they don't value us. That's okay. Do you value you?
Well, and that's a fair point. I mean, you know, the old saying that it's hard to love someone else if you don't love yourself, kind of thing. So, you know, it's a fair point that if you're not valuing yourself, you know, it's hard for others to value what you do as well. As well as, and I know that I believe that Preferred's had the same thing happen, but we had an installation crew come into our office and offer to, and this is for any installers here, this is what you should not do. But they come in and they were like, hey, we install LVP and would like to get some work. And we're like, well, you know, obviously our first thing is go get a profile and let us see your years of experience. Let us see what your rating is. And they said, well, we'll install it for 55 cents a foot. And I was like, well, then I don't even need your rating, dude. You can't work here. I'm not paying somebody 55 cents a foot to put in LVP. That's ridiculous. That's like you're driving the whole industry down doing that stuff, and it's not beneficial to anyone to do that. And unfortunately, there's untrained crews who are unknown to be untrained. So they're not only untrained, it's unknown that they're untrained, that are going out and willing to do the work for that type of a dollar figure. Is just, it blows my mind. I don't
Well,
even know how you can
Yes.
even survive at that type of a dollar, that type of a payout. But the point being is just back to your original statement that, you really do have to value your worth in this industry and go get that training and invest in
Yeah.
yourself, and others will
Yeah, you've
invest
got to
in you
see.
too, by the way.
Yeah.
That's right. And you've got to see yourself as worthy of the value, right? You've got to see here's part of the problem we're running into with immigration. People that want to be trained are afraid to be trained, right? So we got 40% is what I'm hearing over the last 5 years. 40% of the people who come into installation have probably come across the southern border. It's somewhere around there, give or take 5%.
That's,
Those people would be a phenomenal resource for our industries if we would simply train them.
Hmm.
So just so you guys know, what we have proposed in DC, and by the way, when we propose this, behind closed doors, both sides of the aisle agree with us. But when it comes election time, they will not come public because they're afraid their constituents will not vote for them if they do. But here's what we proposed. There should be a penalty for you coming in illegally. You come in, pay the penalty, work a certain number of years. You pay your medical bills, you pay your taxes, you pay Social Security, and then you get in the back of the line for legal citizenship. But that citizenship is not just US. We propose dual citizenship. That way, if we train you in a skill set that you can use back home, we help that country as well. And we stem the tide of people simply seeing us as the solution. Our birth rate in the United States is not enough to sustain us. We need these people, and most of them are great people. And listen, I'm all for sending the bad ones back. I'm also all for finding a way to keep the good ones here.
Yeah, and there's ways to do that. I mean, at the end of the day, my wife's Hispanic, and her grandfather came over and did it legally. And when those people follow the right path to whether it's citizenship or at least legal residency of some sort, there's a certain amount of pride and defensibility they have about the chaos of previous years when it was just coming
Oh,
across
yeah.
without anything.
Yeah, sometimes they're the most
Oh,
adamant, Paul. Sometimes they're the ones who hate that process
talk to
because
her.
they
Talk to
sacrificed.
my wife's uncles, and they are not they're not fans. What they are fans of is making this easier, though. There has to be a
Well,
little easier method. And you really, in my opinion, um, it's not just, it's a co-need. They want to come here. They need America, and America needs them. That's like a love affair. That should have a easy way for it to happen. You know what I mean? It's like
yeah, and the other value, though, Paul, of dual citizenship is we're paying a lot of these countries to exist anyway. Why not put that money instead into training their people at being good at what they do?
well,
I mean, why wouldn't it be that you could be so good that people paid for you to come into their country to do work?
yeah,
You know, I think we can get there. And again, here's what I think we're talking about. We created again the problem we hate. We made immigration so difficult that people felt the only way they could do it is to come across illegally.
yeah,
If you simplify immigration, you solve the problem. Let's find the right way for the right people to come in and simplify it and make it easy. Don't make them have to jump through hoops, fill out thousands of forms. Make it where we get the people here that we need
yeah,
and that we benefit them as much as they benefit
yep.
us.
I agree with all that. Daniel and Jose, I wanted to
Sorry,
go back to
I'm
a
so-
a topic when we were talking about you know being untrained installers. You guys and I both kind of share that little path where we weren't maybe the best trained at some point. What was the ticker for you guys that, like, hey, this is something, this is where I can double down and separate myself, and you guys have clearly done that. So what was the ticker? What got you there?
That's a great
you know what?
question, Paul. We'll hear it.
I grew up and I surrounded myself with a lot of people that said, there's no way you can do that. There's no way, right? Where you came from, there's just no way. You know, everything was stacked up against me. So don't tell me there's no way. Just don't, right? That is fuels me more than someone telling me that I'm on a good path.
Mm-hmm.
You tell me that I'm doing something wrong. You tell me there's no way for me to get to that finish line. I'll find it, and that's really all it was. But the I can't say that
something ticked though, because you started
was,
like I did, where we had some hand skills, we had some natural skills, got going, and then we were like, man, I gotta go learn something.
You know what?
I want to know how to actually do this stuff right.
I'll tell you what it was. It was I think it was the moment when the gentleman that I was working with moved out of state, and I got put in a corner, and because I was the leader, right? I was his leader, and they said, if you don't get your license and you don't get your insurance, we're not going to give him work anymore, which means you're not going to get work anymore. And I had my family and my friends working. I brought them all along, and I was responsible for them. And then I made that shift. And once I made that shift, I realized I'm not just doing it for me for a paycheck anymore. I'm doing it for them. And I just had to get better. And I was learning. And I just had to keep learning. I just never stopped learning. That was the turning point for me to say, yeah, I'm knee deep into this thing right now. Let me make sure that I don't fail. And it wasn't for me; it was for everybody else that I had brought into the industry at the time.
Jose, I want to hear Daniel's answer to that, but let me just say that typically, if you do it to benefit yourself, it doesn't sustain.
Yeah, never.
It doesn't last. When you begin to make a difference because it's the right thing for others, and especially when you're my age, I'm 62 now. I think I'm 35, but I'm 62. And I'm thinking about my legacy, and I want to make sure that I leave this industry that's added so much to my life a better place than it was when I came in. So that's a pivotal point. Thank you, Jose, for mentioning that, because you at one point realized I'm not just in this for me anymore. There's a lot of people relying on me. I brought people into this, telling them this is a good livelihood. Yeah. Now I've got to put my money where my mouth is. Daniel, what about it, buddy? How's that birthday boy see this?
Man, I didn't even realize how good I was until other people started telling me. I think I was just out doing my job and always trying to do the best thing the best installation that I could, right? And then what really started clicking for me is actually just picking up trade magazines and then just reading like, oh, I'm supposed to be doing this, and then just actually changing the way that things that we were doing. And from there you just start getting relationships with like local distributors, and then they bring in the reps, and then you start talking to the reps and they're like, can I demo this for you? And you're like, oh, I was kind of doing this a little bit wrong. And then again, that kind of like Paul was saying, you figure you're doing something wrong, you change it, or if something's not working, you change it. And that's just what we just kept on doing. We just kept on changing and progressing from there. And it's not something that I thought of at the time that was like really life-changing or anything. It's just something that we started doing, and then it just put us into that spotlight where people were like, wow, you guys do great work, and we never had issues. And now looking back on it, that's the reason why. It's because it's like, all right, if I'm not doing something right, I'm going to change it. Instead of, I still talk to people today that it's like, hey guys, you guys are doing this wrong, this is the way you're supposed to be doing it. And then the excuse that everyone always says, I've
been doing this for 30 years this way.
That
is the worst response. I have to break general contractors as well as installers.
Thanks, Georgie.
I've had GCs come in and go, well, we tore up VCT. Why can't you just put it back down? I'm like, well, that was done 35 years ago with cutback adhesive, and you didn't have to worry about moisture back then, buddy. You do now. That VCT is about 90% crushed limestone. Okay, so it's not got much of the V in it anymore. And then you add water soluble adhesives to the mix, and you got a whole different problem today. So I've done it this way for 30 years, or I've always done it this way. That stuff, that's kind of what I wanted to point out with you guys, just to give you some kudos here. One of the things that not only have you displayed that within how you handled your installation career, but you guys are involved in local community. You're involved in your local chapter of the commerce sorry, it's
Chamber of Commerce.
Chamber of Commerce. Yeah, your local chamber. You guys do a lot to advance other people. We talk about it pretty often, that you guys went to a chamber meeting for this, that, and the other, and you're always trying to improve the situation. So that's kudos to you guys, but it can be adopted by others. So if you're an installer on here, like copy some people, like take those little baby steps forward. That's what you just seen in the examples that Jose and Daniel gave, is just baby steps forward on stuff, and you arrive. Eventually you're going to arrive. It's kind of
many small time make
big time.
Many small time make big time.
Well, guys, I would just say kudos to your parents or whoever instilled that work ethic in you, that willingness to do the right thing just because it's the right thing. One of the premises I believe in life is if you do the right thing expecting nothing in return, you will always get something in return.
Yep.
Yeah.
You just got to do the right thing. By the way, I'm a little mad at myself because I had my screen messed up. This dialogue that's going on here is so much fun, and I've missed my stuff. I didn't know what good eaters and cooks y'all are. Jorge, man, he's laying it on you guys.
Yeah,
right
he's the head chef in the cooking.
I want to go back.
Hey, I want to make sure I ask one question of you guys, if you don't mind, before we finish. Listen, I'm yours, so I'm not worried about time. That's up to you. We are about to launch a new benefit that really a lot of the motivation for it is the professional installation world. My research shows that maybe as many as 70% of professional installers do not have insurance. They just don't carry it. And I don't know if you're aware, but because of the big, beautiful bill that passed, as of January 1st, you don't have to have insurance anymore, not comprehensive health insurance. You only are required to have catastrophic insurance, which means hospital and surgery. And so what we have done is partnered with a guy that I met through my CEO group in Atlanta, and he's created a program called Fill It Local. Just like it sounds, FILLITLOCAL. You can look it up, fillitlocal.com. It is a telehealth program that also has 700 plus free pharmaceuticals. And I've got the alphabetized list, and I'm telling you, most of the stuff that you would think about, it's on there. And then it gives you a 9% discount on the others. It also comes with a scope. So if your kid's having ear problems, you actually put the scope in the ear and they get to see the ear on the telehealth. The telehealth is free. It's $24 a month. Here's the catch. You have to be part of an organization to get it. Individuals cannot get it. So I've just signed the entire staff of the WFCA up for it. The people that we manage at FCIF, Wi-Fi, and FCEF, they've done the same. But I'm working with them right now to see if there's a way for independent contractors to utilize that if they are members of CFI. So for instance, if CFI membership is $50, then at $24 a month times 12 is $288. Then you add the $288 and the $50, and we have a different level of membership that allows you the medical benefit. My question is this: I don't want to spend a lot of time pushing a benefit that doesn't have value. So I'm in a little bit of pain today. I'm actually on a little bit of medication because I'm about to have neck surgery for the 4th time. Oh. And so when I went down and saw the doctor, they called me in a medication, and I get a message from the pharmacy that says your medication is ready. The cost is $567.
Yeah.
And I thought, I'm not that bad off. I don't think I'm hurting quite enough for $567. But I did some research, and I found out that I was able to get that same medicine for $17, which is what I paid for it. If we had this program, it would have been $15. I think I want to take a burden off of those who don't have insurance to make sure they've got enough to be covered. So what this program does is for each individual, it's $24. For their first child, it's $36. For each additional child, it's $15 if they choose to do it. We don't make money on it, but it takes a burden that you're worried about taking care of your family. This allows you to buy catastrophic insurance, which is about 1/5 the cost of regular insurance, and then have telehealth and have pharmaceutical and have something that if your kid has strep, you can take care of them without paying $300 to go for a doctor's appointment.
Yeah, that's
is that a value?
Yeah, it is a value, especially for someone here where you know my kids like to get hurt and get sick all the time, and you know
Yeah.
if I didn't have to go take my deep dive into the medical industry and all that years ago, I wouldn't know that shopping around and from one store that's 3 miles apart, you are talking a $300 difference in the cost even with health coverage.
Oh, it's
And
crazy. It's crazy.
It's really
It
frustrating.
almost makes me mad, Jose,
Yeah.
because if they could have taken advantage of me, they would have. They would have
100%.
gotten the 567 if they could. And I think there's a lot of people out there that don't know how to fight that fight. They don't know that they have another alternative. And so what my friend Scott McKnight has created is this program that uses local pharmacies. So just like GoodRx
Yeah.
uses Walgreens and CVS, this uses local pharmacies, just like we deal with independent flooring retailers that are local and installation groups that are local. I loved it. I just saw the connection and I said,
Well, my 2 cents
let's-
on it is anytime somebody's able to get pharmaceuticals in particular are one of the biggest costs of insurance. And the dirty secret is that they take advantage of the insurance companies that if you had full insurance, you would have paid your insurance would have paid the 5 something.
That's right.
And
That's right.
That's what keeps healthcare costs elevated anyway, is these things that that are inflated. Our insurance company fought a bill one time. We're part of a co-op. It's a Christian co-op called Liberty Health.
Yeah.
And I've been on that insurance for 20 years probably, or 15 years.
That's awesome.
And they fight these bills because a 10-ounce Coca-Cola should not cost $52,
That's right.
And so they try to do the good deed of trying to pull down the healthcare costs and get them more in line. I mean, we all know that a 10-ounce Coke isn't going to cost you $1 like it does at the convenience store. So $4 or $5 you but that's not an exaggeration. $52 for a 10-ounce can of Diet Coke. That is nuts, and it causes our insurance to go high. So anytime you can separate pharmacy from health, I think it's a benefit. I think that separation that has started to happen over the last 5 years is a net positive for the industry, and could possibly even help with health insurance in general. When you pay your own pharmaceuticals and you do it through something like this, I think it's a bigger benefit than what this, the cost of savings is, because that's the benefit to you personally, but the benefit to the overall setup of the health insurance industry, I think it starts to combat some of the major problems we have there. So I think it's great.
Yeah, so we can change the system.
Yeah, changing the system.
Yeah. Well, thanks. Listen, if anybody is interested in that, if you go to WFCA.org, I've just instructed the people that run our site to put some information out there about it. And one of the things I'm going to have them list are the 700 plus prescriptions that are 100% free. Wow. And by the way, it's mail. So you order the medication through prescription, and then they just send it to you by mail. All you have is the mailing cost. And so I'm excited about it. I think it can make a difference. We're always looking for a way for people to need the WFCA, not for us simply to exist. And I think when you're helping them where they live, then they need you. And to me, that's why the medical makes sense.
So to round that out, do you think using CFI here as the example, do you think that as a group that is a possibility, or is this still being explored?
Yeah. So my buddy's name is Scott McKnight. He's a genius, one of those guys that has a Midas touch. And I'm blessed to be a part of a group called Vistage in Atlanta, and it's all CEOs, and they come together with these, enormous ideas. And Scott's one of those that everything he touches works. And he said, you know what? I want to help the local business. I want to help the people that support, Little League and Boys and Girl Scouts. And so he came together. So I called him yesterday, and I just said, hey, can we do this through CFI? If we just add the cost that it would take for a year to our membership, can we do that? And he said, 90% sure we can. that if you become a member, and we would have to create a new membership level. I just kind of threw this out in front of Rod Von Bush and John McHale today, but the way it would work is you would choose to be a part of that level of membership of CFI. You can still have the regular CFI membership at its regular rate, but if you chose the medical, then you would pay the fee that covers the cost of that per month.
Well, I think that you'll probably marketed correctly, you know, the installation community knowing it's out there and understanding the key benefits. Obviously, any proof that they have there at the fill it local would. I can't imagine people not taking advantage of it, because no matter what, you are still having pharmaceutical. Even if you have insurance, you have co-pays and different stuff, and so a single copay can cover the cost of that. And
well, actually, we had a bunch of people that have insurance say, "Hey, we cover insurance for our people, but we're still going to put them through this."
Yeah,
that's what I'm looking
because
at.
it's still a cost
If
saving
we can
for them.
get, you know, just the generic drugs and the brand name ones at 90% off, why wouldn't you for $25 a month?
yeah,
Yeah. So you guys are that voice, and so what I'd love, a side conversation. Let's get on a meeting, a call, a Zoom call, and let's talk about how can we help people where they live.
yeah.
And this is one of the things that drives me, is how do we make the lives of installers and retailers better? And I'm really passionate about
Rollins says he's not old, but when you are old, you get government money for it. But I think he's 151.
Yeah, but you know
now.
what? Even with Medicare and Medicaid, you still have out-of-pocket expense that this would cover. So anyway,
Well, I hope I'm glad that you guys are thinking of stuff like that, and that the benefit to the installer can be a healthier, you know, like not just a healthier scenario from like having full health insurance, but just better options for your drugs is super beneficial for anyone. Most people are taking something. And
well, and you look at you guys, you're all in good shape. You take care of yourself. You're probably paying a lot of insurance costs that you're never utilizing because you dare to take care of yourself, right? So shouldn't there be an option for people that don't plan on having to go to the doctor 10 times during the year? And all they need is an occasional prescription because they've got a sore throat or something.
You can say it. You can say rash. You can say rash. That's fine.
I wasn't going to say that out loud, Jose.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think it's a great. I think it'll go over really well. We've got to get the word out, and I think it's really awesome the CFI is thinking that way. Because I agree with Rod that it could be a great opportunity for the membership, for sure.
Especially,
we want to just note what Jorge said and how lucky he is. A lot of installers have that same thing. Like some wives work just for the insurance. I've got a buddy that his wife does nothing but, I mean, they don't make nothing from her work necessarily. Every bit of her wages are offset with daycare costs. But she works only because they get the insurance.
For the insurance. That is so common, Paul. Here in North Georgia, it's teachers who will drive a school bus. They'll get up 2 hours earlier in the morning and they drive the bus before they teach because they get that additional income or they get that insurance that they wouldn't have otherwise. I mean, anyway, I think when we're looking at solutions and simplifying lives, I just want to make sure we're always looking at how to make the person's life better, not just their job better.
Agreed.
Peace of mind, man.
We're coming to we're past our time. It was been, as usual, when you have great conversations, they just kind of keep going. I want to say I have thoroughly enjoyed this podcast and the conversation with you, Scott, as well as Daniel and Jose. You guys always bring it. And happy birthday again, Daniel.
Thank you.
What year year young are you?
100.
100 years young. All right.
You're just getting started.
So, well, right
How
on
old
the
are you now?
cusp of
Oh,
the good
wait,
old
that's
40.
right. I forgot. I'm older now too. I'm trying to do the math.
Yeah.
I'm trying to do math. I forgot. I'm
It
forgot I had a birthday.
tends to happen that way.
Yeah.
Jose.
Yeah, his
Sneaks up on
birthday
you.
was 2 weeks ago.
Hey guys, let me say, because Paul, I can tell you're wrapping up. I just want people to know I'm big fans of you
Thank you,
guys.
brother.
I'll do anything I can to support you, but what I want to thank you for, I love your example, but thank you for what you're doing to make the industry a better place to exist. It's making a difference, and I know a lot of times if you're like me, you don't hear that, but I want you to know that we notice it, and I really do appreciate the voice that you are for our industry.
Well,
No.
thank
It's
We
a
definitely
blessing.
appreciate that, and kind of like what you said earlier, right? You do things just because things need to be done, not because you're looking to get a big payout or anything. And I think that's just where this was born from and why we still do it.
Yep. And we
Yeah.
Hey,
Kudos to you.
like it was said earlier, we thoroughly enjoy it. So we appreciate the kind words there, Scott. And again, thank you for all you guys do for the industry at WFCA and through the CFI and the training. I think we have some good stuff going in the industry. We got to push the pedal to the metal. I will say you mentioned industries looking at solutions. I've got a meeting tomorrow with a major roofing organization to discuss what we're doing over here in flooring. If there's anybody worse off than flooring, I think it might be the roofing, by the way. but from a optics standpoint, as well as their people being trained, they have a similar scenario as us.
Yeah.
And so,
yeah.
let's keep leading, let's keep taking risks, let's keep pushing the industry forward with positive momentum. That's what I've gotten out of this podcast is let's take the steps forward. No different than what you just said on the telehealth. The philitlocal.com, by the way, just to do another plug for everybody listening and who will listen to this later on YouTube. That's not full health insurance for $200 a month or something, but it is a positive step forward, and we got to keep taking these positive steps forward. And so I applaud everybody who's working on that with you guys at the WFCA. I want to thank our audience for all the comments. Thank you for being here and participating. Like and subscribe. If you're catching this on YouTube on our later not live.
What?
Hey, look at that.
How did that happen?
Because it's your birthday.
There's the birthday
Because
boy.
it's your
guess.
birthday.
Wow.
And that's the first time that's happened.
So thank you, everybody. Please remember our content is all driven by you. We always try to bring you valuable information and valuable guests like Scott, give you some insight into the industry. I want to maybe parrot what Scott said earlier. The industry leaders who really are leaders, they do care about you guys and they care about us, and we're trying to make some positive change in the industry. And I think that we're getting a lot of support. When I say we, I mean by the installation community. Join in, get involved, and you'll see that the organizations that are kind of helping guide our industry, they're not against us. We bring ideas, like Scott said earlier, we got to fix our own problems. Some of those problems are what Daniel and Jose do up in Grand Rapids, getting involved with local chamber, trying to make local change, and then making industry change when you can by getting involved with the convention at CFI's convention, getting involved with, even going to TICE and getting involved in the installation competitions and all this stuff. Just get involved. Reach out to any one of us if you have any, questions or comments on this episode. And don't forget to like and subscribe. One last shout out to Diversify and the NAFCT for your leadership in the industry. What I say?
Divergent adhesives. Diversify.
You can tell I'm a commercial flooring contractor, right? Oh man, Divergent adhesives. Thank you,
Hey,
Sonny,
don't forget to
and
check
thank
out
you,
his
everybody.
book.
And yeah, another plug. Leadership by the letter. Scott, thank you for joining us today. It's been a real pleasure talking with you and getting your insight from me.
Guys, anytime. Anytime. And by the way, we are blessed. So happy Thanksgiving,
Yes,
guys.
likewise,
Yeah, you
everyone.
too.
It's good to have you guys as friends, but also to be in the same occupation.
Yeah,
So,
and I
Amen.
mean,
Happy
Paul
Thanksgiving,
keeps
everyone.
on saying, we do locally, but it's everywhere. People do business with people they like, and they don't know if they like you if you're not
That's
getting
right.
out there, right? So
Yeah.
start coming around.
Amen.
Yeah.
All right.
Well said.
Thanks, everybody. And we will catch you guys
See
next
you guys.
week.
All right.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you, everyone.